Good morning. I'm Reverend Jenna Watkins. I'm the Assistant Minister for the Center of Spiritual Living, and I welcome you all this beautiful Sunday morning. I hear we're going to have some rain later on today, though. This is a good time to silence your cell phones if you haven't done it already. And just as a reminder, if you've never been to a Center for Spiritual Living before, we believe that there are many paths to the one God. And we are here to love, honor, and support you no matter what your divine path is. The Center for Spiritual Living Space Coast is a safe haven for people of all beliefs and lifestyles. Whoever you are, wherever you find yourself on your journey of faith, you are welcome here. So today I will be your practitioner and speaker, and Mr. Ed Powers will be our reader today. This is also Unexpected Income Sunday. So if anybody has had an unexpected gift, income, treat to breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever it might be, if you'd like to share your wonderful abundance with us and telling the story and maybe tithe, we'll give you that opportunity to do that here. The book group is meeting this Tuesday at 2 p.m. and they're reading a new book, Tuesdays with Maury. So if you'd like to read the book and join the group, there was more information in the bulletin. And tickets go on sale today for the concert with Eddie Watkins Jr., which is October 14th at 7 p.m. Price is $20 and it's cash or check only. Just if you don't know Eddie, he grew up in the ghettos of Detroit, and at 17, he was playing bass guitar on recordings with the Temptations and Marvin Gaye. He was mentored by the Motown greats, and he became a studio musician, making lots of money, moving to LA. With Motown, he had some substance abuse and recovery, which led him to a spiritual search. So in 2007, he got involved with the ancient wisdom movement and he began writing songs. They just started pouring out of him that were spiritual nature. And within 6 months, he conceived his first CD, began writing and selling songs. And he has produced now 7 spiritually inspirational CDs. Eddie has served as musical director for the Centers for Spiritual Living in Las Vegas, Seattle, St. John, Florida, and he's now in St. Augustine, Florida, and they are very lucky to have him. He's recorded with Marvin Gaye, Barbra Streisand, Quincy Jones, James Brown, Santana, Cher, Diana Ross, Herbie Hancock, Patti LaBelle, the Pointer Sisters, Peter Frampton, the Temptations, and some other people I don't know, Nancy Wilson, and he says the list goes on and on. He is wonderful. We've had him here before. He does a great show. He puts a little spirituality and a little bit of Motown, and we have a great time. So please buy your tickets before they run out. We'll be set up in the lobby after the service to sell tickets. Just a reminder, next Saturday is our community lunch, and it will be at the Red Ginger Restaurant in Sun Tree. And if you need directions or address, just let me know. And so now it's more music. Moment to settle in, relax back. You may want to close your eyes. As we turn our attention inward, recognizing that this is a high, holy moment here and now, for we take this time to recognize the light of love that exists within each and every one of us. Let us remember that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And the center of our hearts is that spiritual presence that we are, always within, always in touch, always present. that presence of love, light, wholeness, healing, hope, abundance, and joy does live within each and every one of us. For we are one with our source, and we are one with each other. And everywhere we look, every person whose eyes we look into, we are seeing not two, but one, the wholeness within each and every one of us, that one presence, that one life, that one heart that beats in and through all of life. And I give thanks this beautiful day for each and every person here present, for we all make up this community of love, this community based in spirit, support, nurturing, laughter, and love. I give thanks for your presence, whether you're online, in the room, or watching the video in the future. I give thanks for your energy and the love that you send into this group. And I give thanks for all of our volunteers to help make this center a reality, allowing us to move forward, revealing the idea of God through the Center for Spiritual Living. And so it is. And our reading today is Ed Powers.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I titled this Biology and Love. It's based on a chapter in Dawson Church's book, Mind to Matter. Your typical human body contains 37 trillion cells. In the time it takes me to say 810,000, over 810,000 cells are being replaced in each one of your bodies. For example, our bodies produce 1 trillion new red blood cells a day, over 86,000 new neurons in your brain every day. The lining in your digestive tract is completely replaced every 4 days. And lung tissue is replaced every 8 days. So when you looked in the mirror this morning, I bet you thought you saw the same person you were looking at yesterday, huh? This extensive daily cell building and replacement isn't happening in a vacuum. You are shaping the quality of your cells by the products and material inputs, such as food that you eat and water you drink. So you are what you eat, diet and exercise. Who hasn't heard of those, right? Yet, all these healthy practices are focused on matter. What about energy? Cells replicate in an environment of energy. And matter is changed by energy. Think popcorn in a microwave. Matter being changed by energy. Energy fields are bathing our bodies 24/7, always. So, and researchers have exposed living cell cultures to different frequencies. They've shown that some frequencies affect cell growth. And those are the very frequencies generated by our brains when we think. And we're always thinking, right? There are some of these frequencies are beneficial and others are detrimental to cell growth. The beneficial frequencies turn out to be those very frequencies produced by our brains when we are thinking loving, kind, optimistic thoughts. And the detrimental frequencies are those produced by our brains when in stress. So when every one of those 810 cells in your body that your body creates every second is born in an energy environment of kindness and love, It shapes their development even more than good diet. So the healing potential of right thinking is profound implications for how quickly and completely we can heal. You can be loving all the time for no other reason than because loving makes you so happy, and it turns out healthy. And now, Reverend Jenna Watkins.
Thank you, that was perfect. So my talk ended up being different than what I thought it was going to be, and Ed's reading turned out different than he had intended, and we both ended up in the same place. So it's all good. There is only one mind. So many years ago, in my early 20s, I had this wonderful boyfriend named Patrick, and I just loved him, absolutely loved this man. But one of the things that he said to me was, the only constant about you is your changeability. Now, that wasn't a compliment from him, but I thought it was a compliment. You know, people who are drawn to our philosophy are lifetime learners, and we encourage and we celebrate change. You know, it's part of who we are. And after all, to learn something means that we're going to change. We're going to change our minds. We're going to change our behavior. We're going to change what we understand in life. And in humanity's tapestry of life, we all have many threads that tie us besides that spiritual oneness. We all share global diseases and global wars and poverty and fear, birth of our child, technology, and more. We share all of these things globally around the world. And we're also tied together in that oneness, that search that we all have for love, for peace, for God, for the holiness of life. We all have that. And we know that that's true because there are so many forms of religion or paths to understanding the whole mystery and majesty of life. Science, philosophy, the various religions are all searching to understand this thing that we call life. And in New Thought philosophies, we look for that spread of spiritual truth through religion, science, and philosophy. We don't stick in one area. We include all of the areas that can share with us some truth. And that's what Ernest Holmes did, the founder of the Science of Mind in our church, is he read and explored all the various philosophies and religion and science, and he put it all together into what we now call the Science of Mind. And we look for the truth. We're looking for the truth, not just to know it, but because we want to live it. We want to bring it into our lives. We want it to change our behaviors and who we are. We want it to bring us to a greater experience of love and wholeness. And to live it means that we are going to shift the global human consciousness. We're going to shift it from what I can see now is all that fear and worrying and lack and anxiety to one of love and abundance. The more we can eliminate that fear, we can bring more love into our lives. And can you imagine what life would be like if we weren't living in lack and fear and anxiety? It would be an amazing world of what we could do as human beings. So Patrick will always be a relationship that I hold very, very dear to me. But he was so frustrated by my changeability that our paths had to diverge. And as George Carlin said, just when I discovered the meaning of life, it changed. And hasn't that been the truth for all of us? Just when we think we know it, we learn something new and our ideas and attitudes shift. And that's what I told Patrick. You know, when I get new information, I have new understanding and I change. So obviously, we had to walk different paths. And in the words of John F. Kennedy, change is the law of life. And those who look only to the past or to the present are certain to miss the future. And as Ed so beautifully said, if we're looking at the past and at where we are right now, we are creating the same thing over and over again, and it will be part of our future. So if we want to create something new, it's about learning and shifting and growing and changing. And in the words of Albert Einstein, he said, I must be willing to give up what I am in order to become what I will be. I have to be willing to let go and open up to something new. And there is that wonderful piece of wisdom that I think we've all heard. It's apparently coined by leadership coach John Maxwell, according to Wikipedia. Change is inevitable, growth is optional. The world can change all around us, but we can choose. Do I want to stand still or do I want to evolve? It's our choice that we make every day in every moment of our life. And when we try to stand still, we stand strong in the belief that I am right. We are right. And if you heard Reverend Becky's presentation last week, she shared a part of a Book of Common Prayer from Angela Jane Taggart, where she said the acronym for we are right is WAR. And so when we stand in the belief that I'm right, I'm not changing, we then become at war with all those around us who want to grow and change. And we become at war with our own evolution. And we are at war with new ideas and new understandings. So why is change so important? Well, on a spiritual level, there's a holy inventor, constantly creating and searching for receptive minds to reveal these new ideas through. The creator revels in the new and the ever expanding, and we're finding new species, new flowers. People are changing all around. Spirit is constantly creating things that are new, and we're the vehicles for that expansion. That creativity flows through us as we are open to grow and change. And on a physical level, if we're not willing to grow and change, we'd still be living in caves. We'd be using clubs to find our food. We wouldn't know how to create fire or build homes or bridges. We wouldn't be able to communicate through the spoken or written word. And we wouldn't have these beautiful cell phones that we're all attached to. And they become essential to us. And our children today wouldn't know how to live without a cell phone. We seem to move forward quickly when it comes to this great technology, to things that create comfort in our lives. However, do we relish moving forward when it brings loss, when it brings pain, when we have to change what we think or change our habits, change our hearts? Do we relish that? So I'd like you to close your eyes for a moment and just think about your own life and allow some changes that you've been going through to just flow through your mind's eye, kind of like a moving picture. You don't need to hold on to any of them. Just allow all these changes to float through. And now bring your awareness to a change in your life that you really didn't like. It may be a loss of some kind, a relationship ending, a death, a career change, a change that was forced upon you that you didn't want or like. And then think about how your what your immediate reaction was to the change. Okay, you can open your eyes. And just think for a moment, I'm not asking for an answer. How did you react? Was it fear or anger? It's common for people to react in one of those two ways. And we go into that question of why me? Oh God, why me? Why did this happen to me? Or as metaphysicians, we may say, what did I do wrong to create this change in my life? What did I do to create this? And you may not agree with me, but I think these two questions are limiting. I think they're limiting viewpoints, and let me explain why I believe this. So first, if we look at the word victim in the dictionary, it means wounded, prey, target, sufferer, a person who's been harmed, injured, killed due to crime, accident, or other events, a person who's tricked or duped. And the why or why me question implies I'm a victim of my circumstances. And if I'm a victim, then I'm a sufferer. I'm a target, I'm prey, I'm weak. In metaphysics, we ask, how did I create this? How did I harm myself? And we see ourselves as victims of our own personal flaws. And I don't believe that when we move into a place of seeing ourselves as victim, that we can be empowered for change. So what if we had a different way of looking at it? What if, instead of saying, why me, or how did I create this, we see ourselves as treasure hunters? We are treasure hunters, and our treasure that we're looking for is that spiritual wisdom that helps us move through the moment, move through into a more beautiful, peaceful understanding and growth. And as spiritual explorers, we recognize that the Holy Creator is creating something through us and urging us to grow and evolve in consciousness and to open ourselves up to more enlightened ways of thinking and being, nudging us forward to see in a new way, to love in a new way, to live in a new way, so that we can allow a greater expression of ourselves and we can recognize the grace of God flowing through us in every moment. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our philosophy, says that the grace of God is a symbol of the higher nature of God, which raises a lower consciousness. So when we are recognizing that there is God moving through us in this moment, it's helping us to urge and raise our consciousness to a higher level. And so often we see grace only as something positive that happens to us. We don't always see it when we're in the middle of that transformation that may not feel so good. But if in the midst of these difficult moments, if we could recognize that we always live in grace and grace is present here, and open ourselves not from a place of victimhood, but to a place of empowerment, allowing that wisdom and grace to flow through us. And I'm not saying don't feel the pain, don't feel the anger, don't feel the pain, don't feel the grief. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they don't have to take up residence in our lives. And it's important that we feel those feelings, but not hold on to them. In the book, Real Change, Sharon Salzberg says that the challenge lies in honoring the message of the anger without letting it consume us. Not because it is wrong to feel anger, but because it might burn us. And in Tibetan Buddhism, anger is what we reach for when we feel weak, because it will make us strong. So it's a function to cover over a sense of helplessness. So when we feel that anger, we're trying not to feel helpless. Anger can create a sense of power and action, but is it always the right action that comes out of anger? And remember, what moves mountains is love. So I'd like to share a story that Mark Chernoff shares on his blog, and it's called The Weight of the Glass. So 20 years ago, when Mark was in college, his psychology professor taught a lesson that he's never forgotten. On the last day of class, she came forward and she said, I'm going to teach you a vital lesson on the power of perspective and mindset. So she raised a glass of water over her head. I'm raising tea. And while everybody's thinking she's going to talk about glass half empty, half full, what she said was, how heavy is this glass of water I'm holding? And of course, everybody came out with their ideas of how much it must weigh. And then eventually she said, from my perspective, the absolute weight of this glass is irrelevant. It all depends on how long I hold it. So if I hold it for a minute or two, it's not very heavy. It's kind of light. If I hold it for an hour straight, my arm will probably start aching. And if I hold it for a day straight, my arm will likely cramp up and feel completely numb and paralyzed, and I'm already getting tired of holding it. And if I hold it for that day and my arm is cramping and becoming paralyzed, I'll drop the glass to the floor and make a huge mess. So in each case, the absolute weight of the glass is irrelevant, but the longer we hold it, the heavier it feels. And the glass is like our worries, our frustrations, our disappointments, and stressful thoughts. They're just like that glass of water. If we think about them for a little while, nothing drastic happens. If we think about them a bit longer, you'll notice that some pain begins to exist. And if you think about them all day long, you'll be completely numb and paralyzed and incapable of doing anything else until you let them go. Change requires energy, as Ed said. And when we get caught up in anger and grief, we deplete our energy for growth. So what if we choose to explore the love inside our pain, inside our loss, and the grief? What if we choose to look for the love that exists within there? Seeing our experience in this new way helps us respect what we are going through. It's important that we respect what we're going through and recognize this is a moment created for my growth, giving me more power, more love, more connection to spirit. Every experience that we have gives us a choice. Do we evolve through this, or do we remain exactly as we are? And if we choose to remain unchanged, we will be presented with the same challenges, the same routine, the same storms, the same situations, until we choose to learn from them, until we choose to love ourselves enough to say no more, and we're willing to grow. If we choose to evolve, we will connect with the strength within us, open ourselves to new ideas, new thoughts, new solutions to whatever we're going through. And for all of us cat lovers, Ed, Ron's not here, so I can tell a cat story. So this is a true story. I'm not making it up. So during the pandemic, there was a restaurant in Osaka. And they were an interesting restaurant because they had miniature railway set up in the windows and around their restaurant. And that was the theme of their restaurant, was miniature railways. And so people really enjoyed coming and playing with the railroads and everything. But of course, COVID hit and they started losing clients. And he was beginning to think he had to close his doors, and he had all this food, but no clients. And then one day, a hero appeared. A hero appeared in the form of a teeny tiny little stray kitten outside his door. And because of that cat, his whole life turned around. He decided that they would adopt this baby kitty. And the owner of the restaurant's name was like Naoki Teraoka. I'll call him Naoki because I'm not sure I can pronounce the last name. But he didn't have the heart to turn away that little kitten, so the whole family decided to bring him in, and they named this cat Simba. And then all of a sudden, Simba wasn't alone. Simba was part of a bigger package of kittens. Simba's mom came, and then eventually Mama showed up with 3 more kittens, and so he adopted all this whole family of kittens. And, you know, it was a financially difficult time for them, but they decided that they were going to help the cat family. And they realized that even though they were helping them, the cats were helping the restaurant. So what happened is the cats began making themselves at home in the windows in the railroad, among the miniature railroad. So you have a miniature railroad this high and a cat this high. So it kind of looked like you had the 50-foot monster cat terrorizing the railroad. And so Naoki decided to take pictures of this because it was so cute, as cat lovers would know. So it was so cute, and he began posting it on Instagram, and people started getting interested. And eventually his restaurant turned into a cat shelter where people could come and dine with the railroads and the cats. And they had upstairs, they had a shelter and an adoption place. And he has saved over 300 cats and turned his whole restaurant around. Now, if somebody had come to me and said, oh, I know what you need. You just need to adopt cats and bring cats into your restaurant and your restaurant would grow. I would laugh at that and think that was a silly thing to do. But because he was open to the moment, he saved his restaurant. He saved the lives of many cats, and those cats brought love into the lives of many families. Remember, the holy inventor is always seeking to reveal its creativity through each of us. And Cheryl Salzberg, the author of the book, Real Change, it's a great book, I highly recommend it, says that the best way to face changes is to do so mindfully. Open our eyes, see everything there is to see, learn everything there is to know. That mindfulness builds resilience that shores up for the long haul. It teaches us how to be with our feelings of loss and helps us to focus our energies more productively. And so I'd like to leave you with one last story. You'll, I imagine, remember the cave boys in 2018 in Thailand that were all in a cave when torrential rains came forward and they were flooded out. They couldn't get back. They were over almost 2 miles into this cave when they were flooded. And it was flooded and they were on a ledge. And it took 9 days before anyone could get to them. So for 9 days, these boys, they were ages 11 to 16, 12 of them. And then they had their coach who was 25. They're stranded on this ledge in the dark, water all around. They don't know if anybody will find them. The kids are crying for their parents. They're hungry. They only had a few snack items to tide them over. And they're terrified. And their coach, who had trained to be a monk, but had to leave because he had to care for his family, he taught them mindfulness. He taught them to sit down, to breathe, to meditate, to calm the mind. And as a result, all of these boys came out of that cave after 18 days. They were not completely healthy. They were emaciated, but he kept them sane. He kept them from dying from fear. And it was really all about being mindful. And as Thoreau says for you, Joe, it is not what you look at that matters, it's what you see. So when life throws us a curveball, something that's unexpected, surprising, disruptive, remember that we are spiritual treasure hunters. We see the grace of God working through each and every moment. And if we see love first, we will open ourselves up to the treasures of the mind and the heart. Thank you. Okay, this is the time for our offertory. So if our usher would please step forward. Wait, you don't have to come up if you, okay, good. Okay, so please join with me in reciting the offertory affirmation in the back of your bulletin. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. Okay, and now let's all stand and sing along to our closing talk, our closing song. They're so colorful with that hair and that. It's lovely.
Word is gorgeous.
Gorgeous, I'm sorry.